Hello, this is Chucky and welcome to Simply Awesome Photography. Today I'm going to be testing out the D500 with the 60mm Micro-Nikkor 2.8 against the D4S with the 85 f1.8 and also against the D750 with the 85 1.8. Now you might ask me, why on earth are you going to do that? It was just a little bit of curiosity. I just wanted to see how the two cameras matched up against each other, mainly against the full frame counterparts. Now I have taken a picture of these old cameras right there and I put them in a bit of a montage right there so that I can get a nice bit of shadows in there. I'm using available lighting and I'm pushing the real high ISO. So we're going to see how the D500 does against the two full frame cameras. Now first thing I have to tell you is that I calibrated the autofocus fine tune on all the cameras, turned off the ISO noise reduction as far as the high ISO noise reduction, turned off the vignetting control, turned off the active de-lighting, put them all on auto white balance, put the picture controls all on standard. They're shooting NEF uncompressed as in RAW. And then last thing, I have the distortion control turned off. Now I shot 3 different shots with each one of these cameras. I have the first one at ISO 2000, 1/100th of a second at f5.6. The second one ISO 1000, 1/80th of a second, 5 and f4. And then the last one ISO 3200, 1/100th of a second at f7.1. So we're going to be able to see quite a range with these cameras and see how the D500 did. Now I'm not really expecting real great things from a crop sensor camera, but let's go ahead and jump right in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the D4S and the D500 first, and then I'm going to tap C on Lightroom so that you can see the comparison of the two. Now you can see that for some reason the D750 and the D4S had a little bit warmer tones, even though they're all set on auto white balance. So I'm going to zoom into about 200% right there, and I'm going to scroll over here so that you can see the two in comparison. Now we have the D4S on the left side and we have the D500 on the right hand side. Now let's look at the sharpness right there. You can see the lettering right there. The D4S is obviously just a tad bit sharper, but the D500 is actually doing a really good job of being sharp. You can see the letters, you can see the shadows, the detail in the shadows there, and then when we go on to the actual stitched strap right there, the D4S is better, but you can see all the different stitches in this strap, so it's doing a pretty good job. Where the D500 really falls down though is on the contrast in the high ISO. You can see right here the D4S is just amazing with the ISO on 2000 right here, and it looks absolutely wonderful. Next we're going to look at ISO 1000 at f4. It's a pretty shallow depth of field, but we want to compare the two right now, so I'm going to click on both of those and hit the C for compare. And let's take a look. The one on the left is the D4S, the one on the right is the D500, and as you can see it is noticeably sharper right there. A little bit dark, as you can see right in there. This is actually picking up a little bit more detail in the back there, but as the sacrifice you have to get the ISO with the super high grain that you have there versus the real crisp. The D4S is just a real low light monster and it is awesome. So I'm going to hit the C and get rid of that. And then last but not least, let's compare the 3200 ISO, the D4S and the D500. Hit C to compare. Once again, on the left we have the D4S, noticeably sharper right there. Colors look a little bit better as far as more saturated, even though they're both on the SD. But then when you come over here, it might have a little bit to do with the depth of field, but we have it sharper right in here. A little bit better on the D500. But once again, if I scroll way up there, you can just see the noticeably difference in the grain right there. So that can be fixed in post-processing, but the D500 seems to hold up really nicely on the sharpness if you can just stand the ISO, the little fragments of the ISO that which you can fix in post. So I'm going to hit C to get rid of that, and now we're going to compare the D500 versus the D750. So once again, let's start with the ISO 2000 right there with the f5.6. Hit C for comparison right there, and let's take a look here, and right there at the Nikon. So the D500 is on the left. You can see it's a little bit whiter, and the D750 on the right, it's a little bit yellower. If you look at that, this might just be the sharpness due to the lack of the anti-aliasing filter, but you can see that it is sharper. Once again, on the D750, the grain is kept under control. It's checked because it's a full frame camera, and we have the APS-C camera, and it just does not hold up against the full frame cameras with the high ISO. So let's go ahead and look at that. Let's compare a few more things right there. Yeah, it looks like it's just a little bit sharper when it comes to the lettering right there, but then the D750 picks up a little bit. Maybe it's due to the depth of field or not, but it does look like it's just a tad bit sharper over here on this side, and then the texture right here on the D750. So it's really hard to call on this one. I would say that they are both the same sharpness. It's just that you have more ISO fragmentation and high ISO contrast in the D500. So let's turn off the compare again, and let's pick up the ISO 1000 with the f4, much shallower depth of field. Hit C to compare right there. We're going to go back up once again to the letters on the Nikon. There seems to be a little bit of chromatic aberration right here in the green, but then on this side we have just a tiny bit of purple on this side. So a little bit strange because it is the same lighting. Once again, the letters, too close to call for this one, and again the ISO a little bit less on this side, a little bit more on this side, which can be fixed in post. So the D750 versus the D500, I would say equal in sharpness. It's just that you get a little bit more grain with the D500. Hit the C, get rid of that, and last but not least, let's take a look at the ISO 3200 and hit C for compare on those. Let's zoom in over here, and last but not least, it really looks like the D500 is taking over as far as sharpness. If you look over here on the 3200, it definitely does look like it's just a tad bit sharper than the D750. Like I said, I tune the autofocus on both of these cameras, and I would have to give it the D500 even though the grain is just a tiny bit more. Of course, you can see that the D750 has also picked up quite a bit of ISO noise there as well. So too close to call for this, but if you are using the D500 for portraits and you are using a low ISO, I would have no doubt that this is going to perform the same as the D750. And that 60mm Micro-Nikkor is a real sharp lens. I would give it the same sharpness as the 85mm 1.8 lens. Truly tremendous lens. Hopefully you liked this video and comparison. This is definitely an unscientific experiment that I'm doing right there. I'm just comparing the D500 and different lenses against other cameras just to see how it stacks up. But so far I'm really happy with the D500, and in broad daylight the thing is just amazing. I just wanted to see what it would look like at the higher ISOs. I can clean those up, and I'll do another video comparing the two after I've cleaned them up in post-processing. This is Chucky. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my videos, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, put a comment down there and let me know how I'm doing. Cheers!